Hi, welcome to Training Talk. My name is John Cullen, and I'm your host for the weekly series here at the Institute of Police Technology and Management, as we offer you a look inside of different training tips, case studies, and some of the excellent classes we offer as we strive to train the next generation of law enforcement. At this time, I'm going to send you over to our subject matter expert who's going to share this week's weekly tip.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do our drag sled. What I have here in my hand is just a simple Hansen spring scale. This is 0 to 50 pounds, common in industrial settings, fishing. Fishing scales will work just fine. What you see here is a short piece of rope with a nice little T-handle that you can use to pull it. Notice it's got a hook on the end here, and what that's going to do is we're going to hook onto the end of the drag sled. No matter what, even though you know what your weights are for your drag sled, you want to weigh it every single time that you're going to use this. That way, if you're questioned about it, you can say, I weighed it that day. Remember, as we talked in the presentation, even if your scale's off by 1 pound because of the forces being proportional to each other, if your scale's off by a little bit and you don't have an adjustment screw, it will level itself out. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take our scale and we're going to weigh it. This is another one of those things where you want to make sure that when you start reading your pulls on the ground, you're going to need a second person to actually read it for you as you're pulling it across the surface. Things to remember: we want to make a good long-armed pull. We want to try to avoid chattering, meaning we don't want the scale to start bouncing. And we also don't want to put an angle in there, because if you introduce an angle as you pull it up, then it will cause you problems with your readings, and that will throw your actual end product off. So what we're going to do first now is we're going to weigh it. I'm going to hook onto the scale here, and we're going to bring it right up, and we're going to take a weight. This scale, this weight, this sled is actually 30 pounds. We're going to make sure it's right at 30, and it is right at 30 there. So we're good to go. As you can see, I'm down here on the ground. When we go to pull this sled, we want to make sure that we're pulling through the center of mass. In this case is where the bolt is on our drag sled up here. I like sitting like this, as I know that I can get down here and I can get a good full arm pull on this scale. This pulls right through the center of mass, and it keeps the sled from bouncing, which was what we call the chattering. And it also keeps me from introducing an angle into it, because most of our pitfalls are either the scale starts to move and it wobbles, or we actually introduce an angle into the pull like this, and that will actually change your reading. So we want to make sure that we're nice and steady and level with this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do one pull straight towards me. We want to get the sled up to speed as fast as we can, but not so fast that it starts bouncing. And then we also, once we stop, we're going to slide back just a bit and do it again. We're going to take 10 pulls over this surface to get the average of the deceleration factor or coefficient of friction of this surface here. This is where it comes in handy to have a second person that can actually stand over you and read your pull force and call that out to another person or write that down for you. What we're going to do here is I've got a partner coming in that's going to read the readings for me, and I've got a scribe off screen here that's going to write everything down for us so that we can do our math later. So here we're going to set up and we're going to do our first pull. And remember, we're doing two types of pulls. We're doing static friction, which represents ABS, which we're pulling when we pull the scale, we're looking at the maximum pull force right before the sled starts to move. And we also have to do dynamic friction, which is what we're going to take as the scale's already sliding nice and steady across the surface. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to do dynamic ones. So this one's going to be read as the sled is already sliding nice and easy on the surface. Okay, so here's our first pull. 22. Now I'm going to reset, and we're going to do it one more time, same exact way. I want to get it up to speed quickly. Try to keep it from chattering. We saw just a tad bit of chattering there at the end, but we had already got it sliding, so that shouldn't affect us very much. We want to avoid that chatter beforehand, and that's because you accelerate usually too fast. So here's our second pull. 22. And we reset. 23.
22 on that one.
22.
23.
23.
23 again.
23,
21,
21,
23,
23,
22,
22,
22,
22. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take the sled,
move back up.
I'm going to reset it, and then we're going to do our static pulls. Okay, so what we're doing here is we just did the dynamic friction pulls. Now we're going to do static friction, which is going to represent ABS braking. So what we're going to do here is when we start pulling this sled, the measurement that we're going to take is right as the sled starts to move, which is going to be the greatest friction value for this surface here, which is going to be higher than we had on the previous one. So here's where we start.
27,
27,
25,
25,
23, 25, 25, 26, 25, 25 again, 24, 24. That's it.
and that was our 10th pull. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take those numbers and we're going to do our math and figure out what the coefficient is based on this drag sled.
Thanks for watching this week's Training Talk tip. We hope that you found this beneficial. As you move forward in your investigations, please be sure to comment if there's any future Training Talk tips that we could bring to you or areas of interest. And while doing so, we'd like you to follow us on all of our social media channels so that you can stay in tune with the latest training. While doing so, also check us out at IPTM.org, where we have a large catalog of courses that are offered throughout the country. And if there's not one nearby, perhaps reach out to us and we could bring the training to you. Again, we hope that you follow along, found this useful, and we look forward to seeing you next week.